The sound of camera shutters echoed in Maya's ears like the ticking of a clock she couldn't stop. She stood poised for the lens, smiling, turning slightly, letting the wind tug at her designer scarf. But inside, her thoughts weren't here. They were stuck in that moment 2 nights ago. You think I don't notice? Every time you look at me, I forget where I am. Lena's voice had been trembling when she said it. Neither of them had meant for the late-night conversation to unravel like that. It was supposed to be a casual wrap-up in the editing bay, notes on performance, scene continuity. But instead, words spilled that neither of them could take back. Now, on her way to a high-profile photo shoot, Maya's fingers itched to text Lena, to say something, anything. But what was there to say when the other person had already drawn the line? We can't. Not like this. Not here. Lena had said, stepping. Back just as Maya leaned in. The makeup artist dabbed more highlight on Maya's cheekbones. A soft reminder. Look perfect. Be perfect. Sell perfect. But beneath the shimmer and gloss, Maya's mind played a silent reel of Lena's eyes. How they softened when Maya laughed too hard. How they watched her from across the set when no one else noticed. The set had become a battlefield of stolen glances and carefully measured silences. Where once Lena would walk over and fix Maya's collar or whisper a correction into her ear, now she passed by with a nod and a clipboard. Professional, detached, cold, yet the ache lingered. Between takes, Maya stood behind the curtain of a stage, set, watching Lena speak to a cameraman. The tension in her shoulders, the way her jaw clenched, told Maya everything. She was hurting too. Neither had the courage to admit it, but both were trapped in the same place, wanting what they couldn't have, feeling too much, and saying far too little. And behind the camera's perfect frame, the real story waited, unseen. The day was a blur of lights, voices, and commands. Smile wider, Maya. No, tilt your chin. Perfect. Hold it. Another shoot. Another script she hadn't written. Another version of herself she had to sell. Maya kept her composure until the very last flash of the camera. Then, she rushed off set, her chest tight and her vision swimming. The echo of the director's instructions rang in her ears, warped and relentless. The dressing room door clicked behind her as she collapsed into the velvet chair. She buried her face in her hands, gasping for air she couldn't seem to catch. You're fine, she whispered to herself. You're fine. You're fine. But she wasn't. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs, mascara staining the palms of her hands. The mirror in front of her reflected a stranger, flawless, composed, but hollow-eyed. A beautiful puppet, she thought bitterly, painted and posed for someone else's dream. A quiet knock, followed by the door creaking open. Maya? Lena's voice. Maya sat up too fast, wiping at her face, trying to find dignity in the ruins. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Lena's words faltered as she stepped inside, shutting the door softly behind her. Maya couldn't look at her. Did the director send you to fix me too? No, Lena said, kneeling beside her chair. I saw you. Come in. I was worried. Maya laughed bitterly. I'm not allowed to break, remember? I'm a product. I'm supposed to glow, not crumble. Lena hesitated, then reached out, fingers brushing against Maya's. You're not a product. You're human. And you don't have to pretend with me. There was a beat of silence. Maya finally met her eyes. You make it look so easy, Maya said quietly. Staying composed, in control, invisible even. I wish I could be like that. Lena smiled, but her eyes glistened. I hide because I'm scared, Maya. But you face the world every day, even when it's cruel. That's not weakness. That's strength. Maya blinked. Do you really think so? Lena's voice dropped, soft as a secret. I don't think anyone sees you the way I do. The words hung in the air, intimate and undeniable. Maya's breath caught, and her fingers curled slightly around Lena's. But before either of them could move or speak again, a sharp knock interrupted them. 5 minutes, Maya, a PA called. From the hallway. They froze. The moment shattered. Lena stood slowly, stepping back into the role of assistant director. Maya watched her, heart still pounding, the echo of Lena's words ringing louder than the knock. She didn't say it out loud, but she felt it deeply. She didn't want to be seen by the world. She just wanted to be seen by her. And now, she knew she was. It was nearly midnight when Maya returned to her trailer, her limbs aching from a long day of reshoots. Her assistant had left her binder of the next day's script on the desk, exactly where it always sat. But when she flipped it open, something fluttered to the floor. A folded note, cream-colored paper, handwritten in neat, looping script. No one deserves to feel alone in a crowd. Maya stared at it, breath-catching. The words were simple, but they pierced through her armor like a needle to skin. She glanced around, as if someone might be watching, though she knew she was alone. There was no signature, no hint, but her heart whispered a name instantly. Lena. The next morning, Maya arrived on set early, slipping her reply into the second drawer of the lighting console, right where Lena always stored her walkie-talkie. You told me I was more than my reflection. I haven't forgotten. When Lena passed her later that day, she didn't flinch or smile. Just walked by, her face a practiced mask. But there was a tremor in her hand when she adjusted her headset, a tremor Maya noticed, and so the notes continued. Hidden in coat pockets, under marked-up scripts, sometimes tucked behind coffee cups. Neither of them ever acknowledged them, aloud, but the silence between them had changed. It was no longer empty. It was full of words they hadn't spoken, but deeply felt. Lena, you remind me of the ocean, loud when you're silent. Maya, you say you hide, but your honesty is the brightest thing I've ever seen. The notes became their sanctuary, a secret world stitched between scene changes and nightfall, when the world demanded that they be professional, stoic, and apart. These scribbled lines pulled them closer than any touch could. One evening, Maya found Lena sitting alone in the editing room, staring at footage of the two leads dancing in slow motion. Their on-screen chemistry was electric, but Maya's eyes drifted only to the shadowy figure reflected in the glass. Lena, just behind the camera, watching. That night, she left her boldest message yet, slipped into the cushion of Lena's director's chair. Would you see me if I wasn't your actress? The question sat in the air like smoke. When Lena came in the next morning, she didn't sit. She saw the note and stood frozen, eyes lingering on it for what felt like hours. Then she tucked it into her pocket, expression unreadable, and left the room. Maya waited the entire day for an answer that didn't come. They barely spoke that afternoon, not even a glance. For the first time since the notes began, silence wasn't filled with connection. It was void, uncertain. But even without a response, Maya didn't regret asking. Because the question wasn't about what Lena would say. It was about whether she would dare to feel. The next day arrived cloaked in gray skies and heavier silences. Lena was nowhere to be found on set when Maya arrived. Her usual post by the monitors was empty, replaced by a junior assistant director fumbling through a call sheet. Maya kept scanning. The crowd, grips, camera operators, costume runners. But Lena's absence rang louder than all of them combined. She checked her pockets at lunch. No note. Checked her trailer before the final scene. Nothing. By the time they wrapped for the day, a slow drizzle had begun to fall. The crew scurried to pack up, plastic tarps thrown over lighting equipment. Maya stood still at the edge of the lot, throat tight. She felt foolish. She'd asked too much. She'd ruined everything. Then, through the curtain of rain, she saw her, Lena, huddled under the small overhang of the prop shed, arms wrapped around herself. Maya hesitated only a second before crossing the lot. The rain soaked through her, hoodie, her hair curling against her cheeks. She didn't care. Lena looked up as she approached, startled at first. Then she turned away, as if hiding her face would soften the truth already written there. "You've been avoiding me?" Maya said quietly, stepping under the awning beside her. Lena didn't answer. "I know you got my note," Maya continued, voice steadier than she felt. "And I get it. I pushed too far." Lena's jaw tightened. "You didn't." "Then why are you—" "Because I do see you," Lena snapped, then closed her eyes. Softer now. That's the problem. The rain hit the metal roof above, them in a constant rhythm, like a heartbeat too fast. "I see you when no one else does," she whispered. "When you're tired, when you're terrified, when you're just trying to breathe in a world that wants to script your every move, and every day I fall a little more." Maya's eyes brimmed. "Then why?" "Because if we cross that line, Maya, I lose everything. And you, your career, your face, your name, would be dragged through hell." The ache in Lena's voice was unbearable. "I'm supposed to protect you," she said, "not become another reason you're forced to pretend." There was a long silence between them. Then, slowly, Maya reached out and brushed her fingers against Lena's cheek. She leaned in, their faces inches apart, breath shared in a cocoon of rain and regret. Lena's lips parted, but just as Maya closed, the distance. Lena turned her face, pressing her forehead against Maya's instead. "I can't," she whispered, breaking. Maya closed her eyes, their closeness more painful than distance. "I know." And they stood there, not touching but tethered, the weight of their feelings too heavy to carry, too sacred to drop. The private premiere was everything the studio wanted it to be. Glamorous, exclusive, glittering with curated smiles and silent power plays. Maya stood under the harsh floodlights of the red carpet, her arm looped through that of her co-star, Jason Hale. The press ate it up. Cameras clicked like machine guns. Their chemistry was choreographed. Laughs on cue, glances just right, hands that lingered but never gripped too tight. "Are the rumors true?" a reporter asked, leaning past the velvet rope. "You and Jason have been spotted having dinner outside of shoots." Maya flashed the smile she'd perfected over a decade. "Jason's a great scene partner," she said. "We've grown close." Lena stood in the crowd, tucked near the back, just beyond the roped-off zone reserved for staff. A clipboard in hand, though she wasn't really using it. She watched Maya pose, watched the manufactured affection, the way Jason's hand brushed her lower back like it belonged there. It didn't. And Lena knew it. But the crowd didn't. And they never would. She told herself she had no right to feel this way. She'd been the one to say no. She'd walked away. And still, the jealousy burned in her chest like a second skin. Ugly. Tight. Unavoidable. When the interviews were over and the cast moved inside, Lena hovered near the back of the private theater. The film played, but her eyes were on Maya, on how her expression barely moved during the crowd's laughter, on how she looked like she was holding her breath through her own success. Then it happened. Maya looked up from her front row seat, over her shoulder, eyes scanning. And when she found Lena, standing rigid against the far wall, something inside her face softened. Just slightly. Just enough. their eyes locked for only a moment. But it said everything. After the final applause, Maya disappeared into the crowd of producers and sponsors. Lena found the note later in her coat pocket, folded into a perfect square. The ink smudged slightly at the corners. If I'm going to lie to the world, I need one truth. Just one. Meet me at the studio roof at midnight. Lena read it twice, her heart a storm in her chest. Midnight wasn't far, and maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late. Lena sat in her car, parked just outside. The studio gates, hands clenched on the steering wheel. The clock on the dash glowed 11:48 p.m. She'd been there for 20 minutes, engine off, trying to reason with herself. Going up there could change everything, but not going. That would haunt her forever. Maya's note still sat in the passenger seat, worn at the edges from Lena folding and unfolding it over and over again. If I'm going to lie to the world, I need one truth. Just one. Meet me at the studio roof at midnight. She closed her eyes and took a breath that trembled on the way out. At 11:56, she stepped out of the car. The studio was quiet, eerily so after the premiere chaos. Her boots echoed through the empty hallways as she made her way up the back staircase. The rooftop door creaked when she pushed it open, and the night air greeted her like an old secret. And there, at the far edge of the rooftop, framed by the soft glow of the city, stood Maya. Her back was to Lena, arms wrapped tightly around herself, but when she heard the door close, she turned. Her makeup was long gone. She looked raw, beautifully human, and terrified. "You came," she said softly. "I almost didn't," Lena admitted, stepping forward. "But I couldn't stay away." Maya nodded, swallowing hard. "I don't know what happens tomorrow, or next week, or if I'll even have a career after this. But I know one thing. I can't keep doing this." Lena looked at her, heart in her throat. "I can't smile for cameras and flirt with people I don't care about while pretending none of this ever happened," Maya continued, voice cracking. "I'm tired of pretending. I don't want a hidden life, but I don't want to lose you either." She took a trembling step closer. "If you won't love me in the light," she paused, meeting Lena's eyes, "then at least hold me in the dark." It shattered something in Lena. The final wall she'd been clinging to out of fear. Her breath hitched as she crossed the final steps between them, her hand reaching for Maya's like she'd been waiting her whole life to make this choice. "I see you," Lena whispered, "and I don't care who else does." And with that, she wrapped her arms around Maya, pulling her into an embrace that was years of restraint and months of silence breaking all at once. Maya melted into her, a quiet sob escaping as she buried her face in Lena's shoulder. Then, finally, Lena tilted, her chin up. Their kiss was slow, unrushed, deep, and full of everything words had failed to say. It wasn't hungry or wild. It was reverent. Like they were memorizing each other in case the moment ended. When they pulled apart, Maya was smiling through tears. "Hi," she whispered. Lena laughed softly. "Hi." They lay down side by side on the rooftop, heads tilted back to the stars. The city below buzzed faintly, but up here, it felt like time had paused just for them. Maya turned her head, eyes searching Lena's face in the moonlight. "What now?" Lena took a breath and exhaled into the quiet. "We keep filming," she said. "We keep pretending for the world." She turned to face Maya fully. "But we steal every second we can. Every note, every glance, every rooftop at midnight." Maya reached over, lacing their fingers together. "Deal." And there, beneath a blanket of stars, in a world that still wanted them apart, they chose each other, softly, defiantly, and completely. The world never knew. The tabloids kept churning out stories of Maya and Jason's rising romance, using carefully selected premiere photos and out-of-context quotes. The producers were thrilled. Maya played along. But behind the curtain, in the cracks between takes, another story unfolded. One far more fragile and far more real. During long script readings in crowded conference rooms, Maya's pinky would brush against Lena's beneath the table. It was subtle. A fleeting touch that said, "I'm still here." No one noticed. During rehearsal chaos, set designers hammering, extras chatting, directors shouting instructions, Maya would glance at Lena. Just a glance. But in it was the softness of 1,000 unspoken things. Lena always looked back, if only for a second. The look always steadied her. They communicated in the quiet. Notes still passed between them, now tucked into costume pockets, slipped into lunch trays, or left behind in folding. Chairs, Maya. "You look tired today. I wanted to hold your hand until you rested." Lena. "You say more in silence than most do with monologues." Maya, once weary and weighed down by her fame, began to smile more. Her laughter, once rehearsed for interviews, began to bubble out, naturally. Her acting sharpened too. The directors praised her for a new depth. They didn't know it was real emotion drawn from hidden love. Lena, too, found herself breathing easier. Her nights were still restless, but her days were brightened by stolen minutes and Maya's eyes. She started to write again. Poetry, short scenes, things she hadn't done in years. But with the joy came guilt. Each moment was a risk. Each shared glance could cost Maya her reputation, could cost Lena her job. The love they nurtured was beautiful, but fraught, nestled in shadows with nowhere to grow. And Lena, though enamored, began to feel it, the tightening sense that time was running out. One evening, Maya curled up next to her in the break room between takes. The day had been long, a 12-hour shoot with retakes and rewrites. Maya laid, her head on Lena's shoulder, and closed her eyes. "I just need 5 minutes," she whispered. Lena stayed perfectly still, barely breathing, letting Maya rest. Her heart beat with a fragile kind of peace. Then, the door creaked. A junior lighting. Assistant peeked in, eyes widening at the sight before them. Lena snapped to alertness, Maya jolting upright in confusion. "Sorry," the assistant stammered, backing out. "Didn't mean to interrupt." The door shut again, and silence swallowed them whole. Maya looked at Lena, panic flickering in her eyes. "Do you think—" "I don't know," Lena said quickly. "We'll deal with it." They stood there for a moment, hearts pounding. The world had gotten too close. They had always known this love existed in borrowed time, tucked between camera cuts and director calls. But now the stakes were undeniable. Still, when Lena reached for Maya's hand, the actress didn't hesitate. "Whatever happens," Maya said quietly, "I'm not sorry." And neither was Lena. The first rumor started with a blurry photo. Maya and Lena leaving a side alley after a late-night shoot, shoulders almost touching, Maya's smile unmistakably soft. It wasn't conclusive, but it didn't have to be. By morning, the image had gone viral. The star in her shadow, Maya's mystery woman. Maya's PR team went into overdrive. Interviews were rescheduled. Her social media presence was recurated. Every post now included Jason, every smile brighter, every caption more detached from reality. Lena got a call into her superior's office. The producer didn't mince words. "You're being watched. The studio is investing a lot in Maya's image right now. Don't give them a reason to think you're unprofessional." Unprofessional. The word stung like a slap. As if love made her reckless. As if proximity was a sin. After that, Lena kept her distance. Not all at once, but in quiet shifts. Fewer glances, shorter conversations, notes that stopped arriving. Maya noticed she cornered Lena one night after rehearsal in the stairwell where they'd once lingered like teenagers. "You're pulling away," Maya said. "Tell me why." Lena hesitated, hands gripping the rail. "It's not safe anymore." "I don't care." Maya's voice was firm, desperate. "I'll take the blame. I'll tell them it was all me. That I pushed, that you tried to stop. I can handle the fallout." Lena shook her head. "No. You think you can, but you don't know how fast they'll turn on you. You don't get to protect me by sacrificing yourself." "But I can't keep pretending," Maya whispered. "I can't keep lying to everyone, and to myself." The silence between them thickened like smoke. Then, the final crack. Maya's voice broke. "You told me to be real, but you only want me when no one's looking." Lena flinched. "I love you too much to ruin you," she said, barely audible. Maya stepped back. "You're not saving me. You're abandoning me." Lena turned away, but Maya didn't chase her. There were no slammed doors, no screaming, just a quiet unraveling of something they had stitched together in shadows. They walked away from each other, and this time neither turned back. The final day of filming arrived under a clouded sky. The energy on set was strange, restless, heavy. The script called for a dramatic breakup scene between Maya's character and her love interest, a moment of devastating honesty under flickering neon lights. Maya stood on her mark, waiting for the cameras to roll. She wore a simple costume, a coat too big, eyes too hollow. But she didn't need makeup to look heartbroken today. Lena stood behind the monitor, headphones on, clipboard forgotten in her lap. Her heart beat too loudly in her ears. She hadn't spoken more than 5 words to Maya in 2 days. And now, this scene. Scene 43, take 1, the assistant director called. Action. Maya stepped into the light. Her on-screen partner delivered his lines with practiced detachment, the way they'd rehearsed. But when Maya opened, her mouth, something cracked. "You say I should be grateful for what I have," she whispered, voice trembling. "But I'm choking in a life I never chose." Her co-star took a breath, preparing for the next line, but Maya cut him off. Tears streamed down her face. "I just wanted one thing to be real. Not in the script." She stared into the space beyond. The camera, her voice dropping to a whisper only Lena would understand. "I wasn't asking for forever, just a moment." The set held its breath, a silence so thick it could break. Lena's hands trembled. Her headphones slid down, and she blinked rapidly, struggling to stay composed. No one else understood what they were witnessing. These weren't lines. These were confessions. Tears blurred her vision as Maya continued, voice cracking. "Loving you was the only honest thing I've ever done." "Cut!" the director called. But it sounded like it came from underwater. Maya didn't wait for approval. She turned and walked off set, brushing past the crew, ignoring the praise, the stunned expressions. Her arms wrapped around herself, eyes glassy, jaw set. Lena stayed frozen at the monitor. Someone tapped her shoulder. "You okay?" She nodded blindly, unable to speak. But inside, she was splintering. Because no one knew the real breakup had happened before the cameras rolled. And no one saw how Maya's tears were real. Except her. The ocean stretched endlessly. Before her, the waves crashing softly against the shore. Maya stood alone on the beach, the salty wind tugging at her hair and coat. The horizon blurred between sky and sea, like everything was waiting, suspended in time. Her voice came in, low and reflective. Sometimes love isn't loud. Sometimes it's the quiet moments no one sees, the glances stolen between scenes, the words whispered in the dark. I thought if I could just hold on to those moments, I could keep us alive. Cut to Lena in a dim editing room, watching the first cut of the film. Her face was illuminated by the flickering screen, eyes red-rimmed from crying. She wiped away a tear as the final scene played out, knowing this story was theirs, even if the world never would be. Her voice answered softly. But love can't live forever in the shadows. Sometimes it demands a stage, and sometimes the hardest act is knowing when to step into the light. The montage shifts through quick flashes. Maya laughing during a hidden moment on set, Lena scribbling in a notebook, a folded note left on a dressing room mirror, two hands almost touching, but pulling. Then the scene moves to Lena's apartment. The doorbell rings late at night. Lena opens the door to find a plain envelope resting on the doorstep. No name, no return address. She picks it up and carefully slides out a single sheet of paper. The screenplay title is printed in bold at the top. Behind the scene. Beneath it, a dedication. To the woman who loved me behind the lens. Lena's lips quiver. She smiles through tears as the camera lingers on her face, a mixture of hope, sadness, and something like promise. The screen fades to black.